All right. Hello, everyone. Good morning, good afternoon, good evening. So welcome to another Pandas session. Today, we are going to review things that we did in the last 3 sessions. It's going to be a short session today. So we are going to go over some questions together. I'm going to give you the link in a moment. I'm creating or compiling the content for our next meeting. So we are going to continue with Pandas, but today we are going to review by solving some problems, review the material from the first 3 sessions. I'm going to share you the link with you, the link. Just 1 second. Again, not a big deal, just 14 questions, but I think it's going to help us review what we did. So I'm going to share this folder. So this folder has what we did, the file from last week too, so that you can see what we did last week in case you missed last week's. Why is it not copying? Just 1 second. Just 1 second, please. Couldn't copy the link. Okay, now I think I copied the link. All right, so here is the link for you. So we are going to work on this module 3 HW5. Okay, so I'll wait for 30 seconds so that you can download the file. I'm working on this 01. This untitled one is the file. Let me open it from last week. So I just shared that with you so that you have the material from last week. Again, that not a big deal, just what we did. Okay, so it's just what we typed together last week. That's all. And then I put the questions here too. Okay. All right. So let's continue. So let's look at this first question. We're going to start with simple ones, and then we are going to look at a little bit more difficult ones. So in the first question, there is this data file, and then please let me know if you have any questions, post that Q&A. So this is the data frame. Let me put the data frame. So this is the data frame. There are 3 columns. So what we're going to do is we are going to set order ID as the index of this data frame. So we did this before, right? So we take the data frame and then we say set index, right? And then we're just going to type whatever the column we want to set as index, order ID. That's it. So if I just do this, it's going to set index for df, but df is not going to change. Remember that. Okay. df is still df as it is. So we need to say df maybe equals this. And then now our data frame has order ID as the index set for it. Okay, it was easy. So again, the first questions, it's gonna be easy. So now if you want to bring this back, so if you want to, if I want to bring order ID back into my data frame and then reset the index to 0 and 1s, so what I'm gonna do is, again, df equals df dot, this time I'm gonna say reset index. Okay, that's it. So what's gonna happen is, let's see what's gonna happen, df. It's going to bring order ID back into as one of the columns into my data frame, and then it's going to reset the index to the original default indices 0, 1, 2, 3. Okay, so let's look at the next question. This time we have a data. Let's print the data frame. So we have a data frame with only 2 columns, day and temperature. As you see, some of the days are missing. So what the question is asking is, can you include the days of the week, Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, Saturday, and Sunday into your data set, and then fill the missing temperatures with NaN. For example, if I don't have any temperature for Tuesday, Tuesday is going to be NaN. So how can I do that? How can I, put days into my data frame? There are different ways, but I'm just going to use set reindex. So let me first copy these days. Okay. So I'm gonna call them days. Okay. So let me. Okay. So this is the list of the days. All right. So next, what I'm gonna do is I'm going to say I'm gonna take my data frame. As of now, data frame is this, and then I only have 3 days. I'm gonna take this data frame, and then I'm gonna set days as the index. Okay, so let's see what happens now. And then it didn't work. Set index, not days, day. First, I need to set the day, this column as my index. That's what I want to do. Okay, so I set day as my index first. Okay, then what I'm going to do is I'm going to re-index. The purpose of this experiment was, exercise was reviewing re-index. What I'm going to do now is after I set day as the index, I'm going to re-index this day index column by using days. So what's going to happen is it's going to insert, oh, Monday is here, but Tuesday is not. So it's going to insert Tuesday in here. There is no temperature for Tuesday, so it's going to be NaN for Tuesday. Okay, so let's see what's going to happen now. That's what exactly happened, right? So here are the days, and here's a temperature missing for Tuesday, missing for Thursday, missing for Saturday, Sunday. Okay, then if you like, you can say, as we did earlier, right? Reset index. So now what happened is I not only inserted the days, but now the corresponding NaN temperatures are also set. And then I also reset the indices back into 0, 1, 2, 3. And then let me make this equal to df. Now df is changed. So this is just one way of doing it. So you can do this in different ways. But this is one way of doing that. Let me see. Can you please make this screen? Sure. I'm going to make it bigger. Yeah. Let me get rid of this and then make this a little bit bigger. Okay, it's better, right? Okay, so let's continue. Let's look at the next question, question 3. So let's see what's going to happen here. Again, we have a data frame. Let's first see how the data looks like. And there is a. Why can't we replace df days but getting index error? So let's go back here. Let's go back here. So there's a question about this one. So let's see if we can answer this question. If not, we can find the answer later. So it's, the question is, Kevin is asking, so df day. Okay. So what he's suggesting is let's pick this column df day. Okay. A day is not defined. We need to put this inside the quotation marks. Okay. So this is the column df date. So now it says, why not assign this to days? So why not assign days to this? So when I do this, it's giving me an error. Length of value 7 does not match length of index 3. So on the left-hand side, df days. So let me get rid of this. df day is a series with only 3 values. So there are only 3 indices here. There are 3 values. I'm trying to assign days, which is 7. It has 7 elements, right? So I'm trying to assign 7 elements to 3 element space, and then that's not going to work. It's not going to work. I think this solution, even though it's it's a nice solution in the way that my purpose for this problem was, can we review set index, re-index, and reset index with this question? So we are using all 3 index-related functions methods together. So that's why I like this answer. Okay, so let's continue. Now we have a data frame. So we have student, math, and science. All right. So we have, these are the students' names. Okay. I'm going to select the grades of Charlie and David. That's all. That's all I'm going to do. So I'm going to select the grades of Charlie and David. So how can I do that? How can I select grades of Charlie and David? So if I know Charlie and David are, if I know their index numbers, row index numbers. So here Charlie is 2nd and then David is 3rd. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to take my data frame. And then I know that Charlie is, what is that? I'm using these numbers, which are the index numbers. I'm going to use log for that, right? So I'm going to be selecting the second and the third rows, and from that row, I will be selecting these columns. So this is the long version. Okay, student math. So let's see what's going to happen. And it gave us an error. Let's see what is the error. 3 not in index. 3 not in index. So what does that mean? 3 not in index. 2 and 3, why they are not in index? Did we make any mistake here? Let's run this DF one more time. Okay. Now I'm selecting 2 and 3, but it is giving me an error. Any suggestions on why it is not working? Yeah. So Kevin, I'm going to try your. So there are different ways of solving this problem. Let's look at Kevin's solution. Let's look at Kevin's solution. And by the way, let's think about why this is not working. So let's find the solution together. Okay. So DF, I'm writing the Kevin's solution. DF. So DF. I cannot see it. Okay. So first of all, 2 to 4. So when we do this, so let's go step by. When we do this, it's selecting the starting from the third row. It's selecting up to fourth row, which fourth row is out of the range, but it's the stopping criteria. So basically what we are selecting here is third and the fourth rows. Okay, from this row, now we need to select, what is that? We need to select the grades, right? Math and science. So can we do this? Yeah, I'm just revising your code a little bit. Can we do this? Do you think it's gonna work? Yeah, it did, right? So we selected math and science for the third and the fourth rows. All right. So Yancy, so you are saying 1 and 2. So why 1 and 2? So we want to select Charlie and David's, right? Charlie and David. Charlie is 2 and David is 3. So why this is not working? So let's see. I'm going to take this away and then see. If I do this, I'm selecting the second, I'm selecting the last 2 rows. So from these rows, here is what I can do. I can select these 3 columns, right? So now, not students. Okay. Now I got math and science, which is the grades for Charlie and David. So one thing I'm using DF lock. So if you like, you can use iLock, right? If you like, you can use iLock. So when you use iLock, is it gonna work? It's still going to work, right? It's still going to work because I first select these, rows, and then from those rows, I'm selecting this column. So it's still going to work. Yeah, DF iLock 2, 3, and then that will also work. Very good. So we have many different solutions for this. DF iLock. So first, what we're gonna do is we are going to select the third and the fourth row, right? Third and the fourth row, and everything else. Right? So this is going to give us student names as well. So if you don't want to see student names, how can you do this? Can you do this? Right? I just skipped the first column, right? So I don't want to see the student name, but just see the math and science. I just skipped the first column, right? So how about this? If I do this, is it gonna work? So what I did is I skipped the first column, and this is the stopping criteria. I excluded the last column. Okay, I excluded the last column, or I can replace -1 with 2. Again, I excluded the last column. All right, so there are different ways of solving this problem. My suggestion is make sure that you know one way very well so that you can answer the question. All right. Okay, let's continue. Let's look at the next question. We are at question 4. For those who just joined, just 1 second. For those who just joined, I want to send a message through chat. Okay. Everyone, I'm going to post the link to this, okay? If you just joined, so probably you don't have the link. Again, it's not copying. I don't know why, but okay, now it's copied. Okay, this is the link to the file. Okay, so you can just download the file. Okay, let's continue. Now we are looking at question 4. So let's print DF on the screen first. DF. So this time I have product ID, product name, and price. So in the product ID, I see some of the product IDs are repeating. So that means I have multiple rows for the same product, but and then the same price. Okay. So we are going to identify and remove the duplicate rows. So we learned about this, right, from last time. So you can identify duplicate rows based on columns, right? So here we are going to use product ID as our criteria. So I'm going to look at product ID. For example, 101 and 101 are duplicates. So this second 101 is the duplicate. It's going to be eliminated. I can eliminate the first one if I like. I can keep the last one. It's up to us. Okay, so let's eliminate the duplicate. So to identify the duplicates, what we are going to do is we are going to take our data frame. We're going to take our data frame, and then we're going to say drop. Let's first identify the duplicates. Product ID. What was the how were we seeing the duplicate? Yeah. So what we are doing is we are looking at the entire data frame and then see which ones are duplicated. Again, I see that 101 is duplicated, but the first occurrence of 101 is not a duplicate. That's why it is false. But the second occurrence of 101 is a duplicate. That's why it is true. So the ones here which are true are the duplicates. I can just drop them. So this is one way of just identifying the duplicates. If you like, you can identify and drop them together. Okay. We can identify, and then if I say df this, right? If I say df this, what I'm doing is what's happening here is I am so what happened here? So why? Okay, let's look at this closely. What did I do here? I have 101 and 102, but not 3 and 4. So what I did here is I only printed the rows which are duplicated, which had duplicates, right? Which have duplicates, right? So if I say this, now I have the products, a single occurrence of each product, okay? So that is, I'm just using Boolean criteria here. Now let's use the method for dropping the duplicates. I'm going to drop duplicates. Here I already did that. But I'm using a method to drop the duplicates. I'm going to use subset is equal to product ID. Okay, perfect. So when I run this, again, I got exactly the same thing, right? But just, again, please keep in mind, as of now, this didn't happen in place, okay? So again, from time to time, we get, when you're working on a project, you get surprised, you forget that this is not happening in place. You think that you drop the duplicates, you work on the data set, but actually you still have the duplicates, all right? So make sure that if you want to really drop the duplicates, the secure way is I always assign this to a different data frame so that the original data frame is not changing. Okay, so this is how we drop the duplicates. Okay. All right, so let's continue. We are at question 5. So just 1 second, let me take 1 sip. So this time we are going to fill the missing values in the customer column. So let me first type the data frame. Okay, so I have the order ID, customers, and demand. So I see these nuns. None is also a missing value. Remember from our previous discussion, right? None is a missing value and n is a missing value. I'm going to fill in the missing values. I'm going to fill in the missing values in the customer column with unknown. So I'm going to fill in each column, the missing values at each column with a different value. So customer column, missing values in the customer column will be replaced with unknown because customer column is a categorical variable, right? So it has categories. But the amount column, the missing values are going to be replaced with the mean of that column because this is a numerical column. Okay, so that's what we're gonna. So what we can do is we can do this step by step. So first of all, I'm going to take my data frame. I'm going to pick the customer column. Okay, I'm going to fill the NA values in this column with the string called unknown. Okay, later on, we're gonna learn about dummy variables. Well, later on, I'm gonna create a dummy variable for this unknown category. So if I just do this, it's just going to show me how none is replaced with unknown. But again, this didn't happen. So in place. So what I'm gonna do is I'm going to say df's customer column is assigned with this new series. Okay, so after I replace none in the customer column with unknowns. Okay, now let me see how df looks like. Exactly, the unknown in the customer column is replaced with I'm sorry, none in the customer column is replaced with unknown. Okay, I'll do the same thing. A similar thing, not same but similar. df this time amount. I'm first selecting this. I'm sorry, amount. I'm selecting this column first. I'm filtering my data and then just choosing this column. And then I'm gonna fill this column. Okay. This time, now it is time for me to enter the value, right? So earlier the value was a string. This time value is the mean, right? The mean of this column. So again, I'm gonna select that column, but this time my purpose is finding the mean of this column. So I'm gonna use the mean method of data frame, right? So I'm gonna select this column first. df amount is selecting that column first, and then taking the mean of that column. Another thing that we already again went over this before, but let's remember, when you take mean of a column, the missing values are disregarded. Okay, we don't actually take missing values into account. In other words, when I'm taking mean of this column, there are 4 rows, but only 3 of them have values. So I'm gonna sum up these 3 values and divide the summation by 3. So I'm not going to consider this row. So I'm not gonna divide the summation by 4. I'm gonna divide the summation by 3. Now, so let's assign this again back into the F amount. Perfect. Now let's see how df looks like. Okay. Now, as you see, I filled in the missing value by the average of that column. I also took care of the missing value in the. So if you like, you can go column by column, put this in a df dot columns, right? So you can go column by column, right? So pick let's say the first column. You can use actually a column in columns, right? df columns, and then df actually column, right? So pick one of the columns and then check the data type of that column. So let's see, what does that mean? Um, right? So I'm checking the data type of each column. Amount is a numerical column. Customer is object, means it's non-numerical. So in this case, I can assume that if it's not numerical, then it is categorical. But be careful about these assumptions. For example, this column can be date, and the date has strings. The data type is going to be object, but I know that date is not a categorical variable, it's a date time variable. So you have to be careful about when you make those assumptions, but you can put this in a loop and then check the data type of that column. And then if that column is categorical, replace the missing value with unknown. If the data type of that column is numerical, then take the mean, or you can try median as well of that column. For this categorical one, another thing maybe you can try is take the mode of this column or the highest frequency. For that's going to be more complicated. For this, we are using readily available libraries like scikit-learn. What was the scikit-learn's? What was the name of the class to replace missing values imputation? Right, simple imputer. We're gonna use simple imputer, right? And then what is that? We're gonna use I forgot the parameter name. It was rather mean or median or frequency or mode. Okay, so you can use different strategy. For example, strategy equals mean. Right? I can use this to replace missing values in amount category, right? So this is again when you learn machine learning. So this is what you can use from scikit-learn, from sklearn. Anyways, so let's continue. We are done with this question. So I'm just giving some input. Yes, Kevin. So a simple imputer. Yeah. Thank you. So let's look at question 6. So in the question 6, let's first see how data frame looks like. Let me run this. I have a data frame. There are 2 columns, employee ID and department. And the question is, use the map function. We learned about map function last time, so that's why I put this question here. We are going to replace department. We are going to replace department with their full descriptions using the department map. So you see this department map. It's a dictionary. The dictionary has keywords, HR, finance. These are keywords, and their values are actually what is it? The full name of the department. So I can do this, PD data frame, department maps, just to see how this dictionary looks like. Department. What happened? So I need to run this first. Right, I already did. Department. IT and then marketing. So why did it not work? PD data frame department. Just curious why it didn't work. Our finance. Oh, yeah. I need to put HR, finance, IT. Yeah, that's why it didn't work. So so this is not going to create a data frame. I'm sorry. Yeah, because I need to put those ones in one list and then full descriptions on another list. Anyways, I just wanted to show you department map as a data frame nicely, but let's not worry about it now. What I'm gonna do is I'm going to replace HR with its corresponding human resources and finance with its corresponding full explanation, financial department. So for that, we are going to use map. Okay. So what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna use my data frame, and then to my data frame, I'm going to take department, choose department column, and then I'm going to map this column. Okay, I'm going to use the map function. So when I use map function, I open and close a parentheses. Okay, and inside this parenthesis, I'm going to insert this dictionary, department. Okay. map. Let's run this. So as you see, this column is replaced with HR is replaced with human resources. Let me make this DF department. Now let's see DF. Okay. Oh, what happened here? Why it is all NAN? What do you think? What happened here? Yeah. So DF department is department map lambda. So we can also use lambda function. We're gonna come to lambda function in a minute, Kevin. So we have some questions on lambda function. So this is something that yeah, thank you for the input. Again, we're gonna come back to lambda function in a minute. I just want to talk about what happened here. So this is something that may happen from time to time when you're working on your data set. So as you see, I didn't do anything wrong. I didn't do anything wrong here. As long as I can see, there is nothing wrong in here. So I'm taking DF department and then mapping it into a department map. Okay. And then when I run this, and then whatever after department keywords are replaced with their explanations, I assign it back to the DF department, and then suddenly I all get NAN. So what happens, right? So why suddenly this is happening? So the reason is I ran this one twice. Okay, that's the only reason. I ran this one twice without maybe noticing it. Look what happened. So let me run this one more time. Okay, so let's begin from again. This is from time happens, and then we get suddenly we get surprised. So why it's not working? So here DF, okay, here DF, and then I'm going to use this. Okay, I'm gonna use this. That's what I did earlier, right? So I ran this first just to show you what happens. Okay, I ran this one first. So let me run this. Okay, here then I talked about, oh, you see HR is replaced with human resources. So one thing is, let's see how DF looks like. Let's see how DF looks like. Okay, so DF is still the same. DF did not change, but I ran this one. Okay, now let's see. Let's run this one more time. Now it worked. Why it didn't work earlier? Probably when I first ran this. So let me show you what happened. So let's say I am going to assign this here. Okay. So now DF. So you see now DF is giving me all NANs. The reason is because I already ran this. I already assigned this human resources to HR, financial department to finance. So without noticing it, I ran this twice. Okay. Now what it is doing is now when I ran this 63 line 63 one more time, what it is doing is it is taking the current department and it's trying to locate human resources in the dictionary. It's trying to locate human resources as a keyword in the dictionary because it is not there. It is giving me NaN values. Okay, so from time to time, because we are going back and forth when we are dealing with data set, we may run into these kind of troubles. Okay, so what we're going to do is we're going to go back to our data and then start and then go step by step slowly to see if we are running a certain code twice. Okay, so again, just one common mistake I'm making from time to time when I'm working on data sets. Okay, now let's look at this question 7. Let me run this. And then let's see how DF looks like. All right, let me give some space here. So this time I'm going to create a new column. I'm going to create a new column. That column is called sum. Okay, so I'm going to create a new column, and that column is called sum. And now we're going to talk about lambda. I know that we haven't discussed lambda function before. I know that, so I just put this here as an example. Again, we're going to come back to lambda function later. So we are going to create a new column sum. That sum is going to contain the summation of value 1 and value 2. Basically, what I'm going to do is I'm going to sum these two and then record it as a new column. Okay, that's summation. Yeah. So let's see. There are different ways of doing this. So one, we learned about this, but let's repeat. So I'm going to just use what Kevin is suggesting. So I'm going to do this value 1. We learned this one, right? We learned exactly this one before. I'm summing up df value 1 and value 2. And then let's see how df looks like. Okay, now as you see, I summed up value 1 and value 2, and summation is equal to, in this case, 15, 23. So everything is working perfectly. So let's do this. First of all, let's remember how we can drop a column, right? So let's drop sum, and I'm dropping a column. So let's make x equals 1, and then let's make this in place true, right? So this is something we learned before. I'm just reminding you. Okay, now I dropped sum, so let's do this. Let's do the same thing in a different way. It's going to be a little bit longer than this simple solution, but we are going to learn something new, okay? So what I'm going to do is I'm going to take my data frame, and I'm going to apply a function on this data frame, okay? I'm going to apply a function. So you can apply a function on your data frame row by row or column by column, okay? So remember here, I said x is equals 1. I'm dropping sum. Sum is a column. That's why I said x is equals. I'm dropping a column. X is equals 1. You can also do this. X equals column. That also will work. Okay, I tend to use numbers. 1 is column, 0 is row. So I'm dropping a column. That's why I said axis. So I can also apply a function on my data frame, either column-wise or row-wise. So for this case, I'm going to apply a function. I'm sorry, 0 is a column. I'm going to apply a function on a column-wise. So I'm going to take 2 columns. Okay, I'm going to take 2 columns, and then I'm going to apply the function row by row. Okay, all right. So what I'm going to do is, now it is time for me. So this is how the function is going to be applied. The next thing is I'm going to write the function itself. So for that, I'm going to write a lambda function. So a lambda function, okay, takes one variable. Let's call this variable row, because I'm going to be going row by row. Okay, so each time this function is going to be applied on one row. Okay, I take this row. Okay, I take the row is representing as I move from the first row to the end of the rows. Row is representing that row, wherever you are at the moment. Okay, so let's say this is one row that I'm looking at. So that row's value 1 and value 2 values are going to be summed up. So it's so simple. From this value 1, and then I'm going to take value 2. Okay, so and then I'm going to, after I make this change, after I make this summation, so this is how it's gonna work. I'm going to take one row, sum the 2 columns in that row. So now I have the summation. I'm going to assign that summation in that row to this new column. Let's call this sum. Okay. Again, I am at this row. I'm taking value 1 and value 2 in that row, summing them up, and then assigning the summation to, I'm opening a new column, sum, assigning the summation to in the same row to that location corresponding to sum column. And I'll do this row by row, okay, as I move from the first row till the end. So let's see how my data frame is going to look like now. And you see, so I got my what is that summation here. So one thing is, can we do this df max? I'm just curious if we can apply. So again, I'm going to take df, apply. Okay, this time x is equals 0. So this time I'm going to take the, let's say, column. Okay, column dot max. I'm just curious if this is going to work. Okay, so let's see if it will work. Just curious about that. So this time what I did is I again used apply, but this time I'm going to be applying the function to the first column. So I am taking the maximum of all the rows. I'm taking maximum of all the rows. And then the next column, I'm taking maximum of all the rows. Next column, I'm taking the maximum of all the rows. Okay, so I'm going column by column. For each column, I'm taking the maximum of all the rows. And then this is giving me the maximum of value 1 is 30, the maximum of value 2 is 8, and the summation, and the maximum of the sum column is 38. Okay, so that was another example. So we covered how we can use apply function, going row by row or column by column. Okay, so we're going to do more example using apply function in a minute. Okay. Yes, so apply is okay. If you don't here, so if you don't assign, so let's see. Let me run df one more time here. Okay, one more time here. Now, if you don't assign this to sum and then run this, it's only going to give you summation of these two values, summation of these two values. You see, I didn't assign this to any column. So then if you run df, let's run df, df did not change. So I made some computation here. I computed these values, but because I didn't assign these values anywhere in my data frame still did not change. Okay, so that's why I need to assign them to, in this case, because I'm doing this row by row, I'm going to assign these values to a new column, which I will call sum. Now df is changed and I added a new column here. So let's look at this one. Let's see how df looks like. Okay, now I have order ID, customer amount, and status. So I have status for customers completed or pending. So the question is filter and display only the orders that are completed. Okay, first condition is only the orders that are completed and have an amount greater than 200. Okay, and then display the last 3 rows of this data frame. Okay, so I'm going to select the rows which are completed and amount more than 200. And then after filtering, I'm going to only select the last three rows. So how can we do this? Again, there are different ways of doing this. But first of all, let's say this is completed orders, complete order. So I'm going to filter my data, right? So I'm going to take my data frame. In this data frame, from this data frame, so first of all, let's write conditions from my data frame. The status of the order, okay, has to be completed. Okay, that's the first condition. Second condition, right? This is the second condition. Second condition is my data frame, the amount is going to be greater than 200. Okay, so there are two conditions. Let's put these conditions inside the parentheses. Okay, each condition inside the parentheses. Don't forget that. Okay, now this is going to create, let me take this out. Let me run this. So this is going to create a Boolean array. Okay, it's a Boolean array. So as you see, I have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 true, false values. If it is true, that means this first row is satisfying these conditions. What is the condition? In the first row, the status is completed, amount is greater than 200. If it is false, then in the second row, at least one of these two conditions is not satisfied. Okay, so I got this Boolean array. Now I'm going to use this Boolean array to filter my data, So what I'm going to do is I'm going to take my data frame, put this condition, in other words, this result of these conditions, in other words, this array, okay, into the parentheses. So again, this outer df is my data frame. Inside the brackets, I have the Boolean array. This is the Boolean array, which I just printed on the screen. Now, when I run this, it's going to give me the rows which are satisfying those two conditions. It's a good practice to use LOC. Again, ilog is not going to run for this kind of filtering, LOC. So that's, you are going to, I mean, if you don't use LOC here, it's not still going to work. But I find it's a good practice to use LOC here. Okay, so I got my orders. As you see, 0 and 2 are the indices of these two rows. Okay, so, and then I'm going to say this is equal to complete orders. Okay, I got it. All right. Next is, it says display the last three rows of the data frame. Not this complete order, so you can display the last three. So let's do this way. How can you display the last three rows of complete orders? It may complete orders. How can you display the last three? If you say -3, right? If you say -3, this is going to be the third record from bottom, right? And then anything from the third bracket from bottom till the end, it's going to give us an error because, oh, it didn't give. So -3 is complete order. So first of all, let's see. Look, this is complete orders. I have only 2 rows. Yeah, yeah. Tail is going to, Yancy, thank you. Tail is also going to give us that answer. So let's tail see this. Tail is also going to give us the last 3 orders. Very good. And also starting from -3 till the end. Okay, starting from -3 till the end. And then, yeah, so not tail. Yeah, this also is going to give us, if there are at least it's one record, it's going to give us the completed orders. Okay, the last 3 completed orders. Okay, let's continue, guys. Question 9. One thing here is I didn't pay attention to this before. So when I say last 3, so this is -1, this is -2, this is negative. So if I say -4, it still works. So that I didn't really pay attention before. So this is -1, this is -2. Even though I don't have -3 and -4, it still gives me whatever the rows available. Okay, so that's something interesting. So I didn't notice this before. Okay, so let's look at this one, df. Why are we not using tail? We can use tail too. So I just wanted to show you this indices. Yeah, definitely we can use tail too. There is no harm using tail, of course. It shows us the last 3. Yeah. Okay, so let's look at this problem here. Data is this. So again, I have product ID, product names, and sales. Identify, duplicate product IDs. Okay, we did this before. But this time we're going to do something additional. Calculate the total sales for each unique product using grouping. I know we didn't learn about grouping. That's some topic we are going to discuss next week maybe, or next week or next week. But still, I just thought that we can quickly introduce it here so that we are familiar with grouping. Okay, what we're going to do is we are going to identify the duplicate product IDs. Okay, let's identify the duplicate product IDs first. We learned about this, right? So the f dot duplicates based on product ID. What was the key? What was the method name? Duplicated. Anyone remembers? yeah, subset, you're gonna use duplicated. Yeah, that's what I used, but it didn't work. Let's see. So why is it not working? Am I making a mistake here? We did this before, right? Duplicated. Oh, we forgot to put subset. But subset should not be, yeah. Yeah, subset. Yeah, somebody mentioned subset. Thank you. Yeah, Sinuasan and then Imisha. Yeah, subset. Let's see. But it still didn't work. What happened? What is wrong? Duplicated. It still should be product ID. Oh, yeah. Okay. So that's what I was surprised. Thank you. Thank you. So for if you are working on a single column, so you don't need to say subset. So let's see. Let's first try this. Okay. Thank you for all the suggestions and help. So that was a very simple mistake, as you see. I put an underscore between. So if you are only basing your criteria based on one column, you may not need to type subset. Let's, as far as I know, you don't need to put subsets. It's going to work by default. Let's see. Yeah, it works even though you don't say subsets. Yeah. Again, some of the things as you try, you realize them. So let's be formal and then type subset. Okay. The df duplicated subset equals product ID. Now we know that these first guys are not duplicates, but the second 101 is a duplicate. Okay. So I have 1, 2, 3, 4 not duplicated. So what I can do is df, right? So what I just did is these are the duplicated ones, and these are non-duplicated ones, right? So these are the ones that are unique. These are the duplicate ones. In other words, what you see here is the duplicate. 101 is a duplicate of the first 101. And what is that? 102 is a duplicate of the first 102. Okay. When I make this not, it's giving me the unique ones. Okay. Anyways, we already did that one. But this time what we're going to do is we are going to identify duplicate product, calculate the total sales for each unique product. For each unique product, I'm going to calculate the sales, total sales, and then I'll display the results. So this time, you see 101 and 101. I sold two 101s. I'm going to sum up their sales, okay? 10 plus 15. That's what I'm going to do, okay? So in other words, right now what I see is just a unique 101. But then if I make two 101 sales, my total sales for 101 should be 10 plus 15, 25. That's what I want to do, okay? So how can I do that? I don't need to find the unique product ID this way. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to group my data by product ID. I don't need to use product name because product ID and product name are already unique, right? So 102B, 102B. So if I just use product ID, that will be sufficient. I'm going to group my data by product ID. Okay. When I make this group by, what I'm doing is I am grouping my data into unique groups. So 101 is a unique group. In that group, I will have two 101s, right? 102 is another unique group. I will have two 102s in that group. So if you just run this, it's not going to give you anything. It's just going to say that, hey, this is a group by object located in this address. That's all. So I need to apply a function. I need to apply a function on this group by. Group by just group my data into groups and store it into the address, some address as an object. Now this object comes with certain methods. I'm going to use methods on this object that then I can see some results. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to use this function called aggregate. Okay, open and close. Okay, that's the function. Now if you run this, it's not going to give you anything. It says must provide a function, must provide a function. So this aggregate will be executing a certain function. So one way we're going to do this is I'm going to put a dictionary inside this. right? And this dictionary, I'm going to aggregate based on which column, sales column. After I group my data into products, okay, like 101, there are two 101s. I take that group, 101 group, and then I'm going to take their sales column, okay, and then I'm going to sum it up. So this dictionary is telling the keyword of the dictionary is the column that I want to run a function on, or the column that I want to make computations on. This value is the type of the operation. It's going to be a summation, or it's going to be a mean, it's going to be a max, it's going to be a min, whatever operation you're going to be running on that column. Okay, now let's run this. Now, as you see, I have my unique product IDs. So for the first product ID, which is 101 here, I have two 101. So I summed them up, 10 plus 15, 25. Okay, this sales, you see the sales is still sales here. Okay, so we can work on it. We can work on it, but this is gonna be the total sales. You can change the name, or you can add this as a separate column. Okay, this is the sales column, which is total sales actually. Okay, and then another thing is, as you see, when you run group by, when you apply a function on group by, whatever you are grouping by, whatever based on what you are grouping by, that becomes the index. I'm repeating this. When you run this line, the resulting data frame is going to have the group as the index. Now, if you want to push this group back into data frame, remember what we did earlier? Remember that? Reset index. We know that, right? You see now how those small pieces become important, right? So now let's see. Now I have new indices. I pushed product ID into data frame, and this is the total sales. Okay, so you can assign this back into a data frame, and then later you can merge this with the original data frame. Merging, we're going to discuss next week. Yeah, DF2. So another way, Yancy, thank you. Again, I'm going to take DF. I'm going to group this by, thank you for these suggestions. Yeah. Again, I'm grouping this by product ID. Okay. Again, if you just run this, nothing happens. This is just an object. Okay. Now, if you like, from this, you can select, I think this will also work. Sales. Again, nothing happens. As long as you don't apply a function, nothing happens. What I did is, after I group by my data in your mind, make sure that this corresponds to products grouped based on their product ID. So at some place, I have a group where product ID is 101 here, 101, and I have product name and I have sale. Okay, so there is one group there. So on that group, from that group, I pick the sales column, and then I apply some function. This also is going to work. Okay, this also is going to work. Now here, as you see, that's the name of this is a series. The name of the series is sales, and then what is this 101 product? So let's reindex this. Set index. Okay, so now I put product ID and sales back into data frame, and then got these default what is that indices, right, back into my data frame. So they both are doing the same thing. For some of us, this may be more simpler, and then, but again, if you use aggregation function, you can add more here. Can add more in here. So let's try to do that. Let's see what's going to happen now. What happened now? Oh, it just it just included mean, but not summation. So summation is gone. So I'm surprised summation is not here too. I can run aggregation with multiple operations. Okay. If any one of you guys can fix this, please let me know. Okay. I know that I can run multiple operations with using aggregation function. Let me get back to this one. For now, okay, let me just comment this out. But I know that I can run multiple aggregation operations. Okay, let's look at this question, and then maybe we can stop. Okay, I can solve the others in our next meeting. All right, let's look at this one. Now we are going to fill in. This is an interesting one. This is an interesting problem. So let's see. We are going to fill in the missing values. Aggregate mean. Yeah, Nimisha. So aggregate mean is going to work. This one. What I'm trying to do is this will work, right? This will work. It works already. So it's just finding the mean already. I want to run two aggregation functions. Okay, aggregate sales. Perfect. I see. Thank you. Let's see. Yeah, perfect. Now I have both sum and mean for the sales column. AS, thank you so much for your input, right? So now I have sum and mean. Yeah, to returns a hierarchical column index. So let's not use this reset index. Actually, product ID is still the index, but in this time, sales is the first index of the columns. Sum is and mean are the second index of this column. So you can also open this up. I don't remember as of now. I really don't remember how to get rid of sales and then just keep sum and mean as the new column. But I know that you can do it. Okay, let's continue. Thank you, AS, for your input. Let's continue. Let's look at this question Q10. So now I have this data frame. I have three columns: sensor ID, reading 1, and reading 2, right? And then I have some missing values here. Inner salesman. Yeah, thank you. We are going to come back to aggregate functions later on. Yes, thank you so much for your input. Yeah, Eric, that's what we were trying to figure out, and then I saw your question just now. Yeah, it's not on top of my head now how we can separate these two. So get rid of sales and then put sum and mean as two separate columns. That's not on top of my head now, but I know that we can do this. So this is the first index. These are the second index for these two columns. I know that we can re-index the columns and then remove, at least in this case, sales, but I really don't remember now. Okay, let's look at this problem. So I have sensor ID, reading 1 and reading 2. Let's see. What I'm going to do is I'm going to fill in missing values in reading 1 with the mean of the non-missing values in this column. And then I'm going to fill in missing values in reading 2 with twice the value of reading 1 if available, otherwise use 0. So this is a little bit different than the questions we solved before. Okay, so it's a little bit different than the questions we solved before. Actually, let me do this. Reading 1, let me change this to none. You also please change it. So to make the problem more interesting, okay? All right. So what I'm gonna do is, again, I can solve this problem different ways, but when I was looking at this problem, I said, let's solve this second piece first. If I solve the first piece, then second piece will not be that interesting. Let's solve the second piece first, and then try to see how we can solve it actually. So what is the second piece? What we are going to do is we are going to fill in the missing values in reading 2. You see there is a missing value here. There is another missing value, another missing value. We're going to fill in the missing values in reading 2 with twice the missing values in reading 1 if available. So here there isn't any available missing value. So I cannot actually put twice. 2 times NaN is nothing. 2 times, so here, right? Here. Here 2 times 6.2 will be replacing NaN, but here 2 times NaN is not gonna work. That's why it says twice the value of reading one if available. Otherwise means if reading one does not have a value, then replace reading two by 0. I think you got the question, right? So again, I'm replacing NaNs at reading 2 with values with reading 1. If reading 1 has a value, for example, here, reading 2 has NaN value, reading 1 has a value, I'm going to multiply 6.2 by 2 and replace NaN with that value. Okay, that's easy. I can do that. And also, reading 2 has missing value. Reading 1 also has missing value. Then I cannot multiply reading 1 by 2, right? Because it is missing. Then what I need to do is just use 0. In other words, I'm going to replace this NaN at reading 2 with 0. Okay, that's what I want to do. All right. So again, we can think a little bit more about this problem, come up with different solutions, maybe long solutions. It's up to us. But let's try to solve this together, okay? So first of all, let's try to apply a lambda function, okay? Lambda function. Row by row, okay? Row by row. So the first thing is I'm going to take 2 times row reading 1. Okay, sorry, this is small a. Okay, I'm taking twice reading 1, okay? That's the first thing. If, right? If this, so let's say I'm looking at a specific column. Let's say I'm looking at column 4, okay? The 5th column, index 4. So I'm going to take twice reading 1 if that value is not missing value, right? Row reading 1. Okay, is not, sorry, reading 1. If this is not a missing value, PD dot is NA. Okay, let's think about this. So first of all, no, not reading 1, reading 2. So first of all, I'm gonna find the missing value at reading 2. Let's say I'm here. So PD is NA, PD is NA, row reading 2 is going to return a true for this guy. Okay, okay, I found that one. Okay, I found that one. And then I'm going to say if this, and also reading 1 should not have a missing value. Okay, PD dot not NA, row reading 1. Perfect. So I got the first part. So what is that? If reading 2 is empty, this part, okay, and reading 1 is not empty, then take the twice of reading 1, okay, and then I'm going to assign it back to reading 2. Sorry. Okay, so we got the first part. But then there is one problem here. If reading 2 is empty, so this one, if reading 2 is empty, and reading 1 is, what is that? Not empty, right? So if reading 1 is also empty, then what's going to happen? So this is the first if statement. This is the first if statement. So what I'm going to do is first if statement. So I'm just thinking about if this one, now I need to put an else statement, right? So let's go to the next line. Else. So if this is the case, okay, this is what's going to happen. So what's the else part? Else, it's going to be 0, okay, if PD is NA, row reading 1. Are you guys confused with this one? A little. Okay. I think this one sounds easy at first, but then if you think about it, it is not as straightforward, right? If you think about it, it is not as straightforward. So let's do this. I'm going to get I have the answer before the class. Where is the? I'm just going to copy the solution and then let's work on the solution together because this is gonna take a little bit. I put the solutions here. This one. Let's go step by step on the solution. I'm also getting confused. This one. So could I post what? I'm sorry. In the chat. Data dictionary. So sure. Here is the data. Okay, this is the data. All right. So this is the solution. When I was typing, I also myself got confused. This is the solution. So now let's go over the solution together and then I will stop, all right? Okay, so let's look at this problem. Again, remember the problem. If reading 2 is empty, if reading 1 is not empty, replace reading 2 with twice reading 1. If reading 2 is empty and reading 1 is also empty, replace reading 2 with 0. That's all. So again, we started with a lambda function, okay? And then lambda is going row by row. X is equals 1, all right? So this PDF dot apply, okay? Lambda row. A lot of statements will come here, okay? But X is equals 1, all right? So now we are going to write these statements here, okay? That's what. So this axis is not related to the reading 1. Okay, so I'm going to replace reading 2 with twice reading 1 if reading 2 is empty, if reading 2 is empty, and reading 1 is not empty. Okay, so let me copy this. So let's understand what this means. Okay, twice the reading 1 if, let me this one. Okay, if this guy reading 2, sorry, if reading 2 is empty and reading 1 is not empty. So this part is clear. This part is clear. So we are done. Okay, we are done. Now this is the first if statement. This is the first if statement. So what we are doing is we are going if else. Okay, so this is the first if statement. Okay, now else, if that is not the case, sure, I'm gonna share the link. Here's the link. Okay, so if that is not the case, if this if statement is not holding, okay, then we are replacing this one. We are replacing this whole thing with this next one. Okay, we are replacing the first part, this part. We are replacing this part with this part. What is that? This time I'm gonna say 0. Let me copy this one and then see what's happening here. Now this is the second part. Okay. 0 if reading 2 is empty, right? So hold on, let me see. 0 if reading 2 is empty. Reading 2 is empty, okay? And we need to also say reading 1 is also empty, right? Here we need to also say and. We need to put this one here too. Reading 1. Else it is just reading 2. That means reading. So if reading 2 is empty and reading 1 is also empty, I'm going to say 0. Reading 2 is 0. If reading 2 is empty, reading 1 is not empty, I'm going to replace reading 2 with twice reading 1. Otherwise, reading 2 will remain as reading 2. That's all. Okay. So I need to fix this one, and I know that this is a little bit confusing. Yeah, fine. Okay. So and is any else? Okay, this should work. Let's see. Hopefully this should work. There is one unmatched. There's one extra parenthesis. This one. This one. This one. Here. This one. Okay. So anyone who can see the problem here? Solve this problem earlier. I'm sorry, guys. So I really got confused here. I solved this problem before we met, and then it was working. Now I most likely replace something with some things, and then it's not working. Okay, let me stop here. Sorry, let me stop here. I'm gonna fix this one. There is a small mistake. I don't want to waste your time. There is a small mistake. I can see there is a small mistake which we can fix it quickly. Let me stop here. Next time when we meet, yeah, Osman, thank you. If Elif and else, probably, yeah, if else, probably it's gonna be if Elif and else. Maybe, yeah, maybe that's gonna work. Yeah. I'm going to fix this one. Yeah, and then next time we can start with this question first, and then continue with the new material. So thank you so much for listening today. Sorry about this confusion in the last minute, but again, it's a small mistake, but I'm really tired. Probably we can fix it in 1 minute when we look at with a fresh eye. Okay, thank you so much for listening. I'm gonna see you guys in our next meeting. Okay, take care. Bye. Yeah, if you guys want to watch the recordings from the first 3 sessions, they are available. So please go and check Magnimind YouTube channel. All the links are available. And also when you receive an email from us, in the email we also send the links to the recordings. So you should be receiving emails with links to the previous recordings. Okay. Good. All right. Thank you. Take care. Bye.